As we start topic 3, a key word, as you can see there, is intercepts. Now, what does that refer to? Well, when we have a graph and it crosses the y-axis or the x-axis, the point at which they cross is referred to as an intercept. So in this example, we're asked to find the intercepts. So they will be an ordered pair. Now here we have one here. And we have one here, and there's one there, and one there. So take a moment and write out your intercepts. So as we check them out from this diagram, notice I haven't read this or gone over this with you, that another way to think of when we are looking for intercepts is to make what we call a t-chart and an x and y intercept t-chart, where we put a 0 under the x in this row and a 0 under the y in this row. So in labeling the intercepts for this first diagram, we have a 0, 3, and here we have a -2, 0. Now we're saying that there's a standard form for writing the intercepts. The x-intercept is AO, so this would be the letter A, and this would be an O, or a 0 I should say. And this is a 0b, which is what we have here. 0, comma, b. I should also mention that we sometimes, when we write the ordered pair xy, we sometimes use the letters A, comma, b. So the A would refer to the x, and the y would refer to the b. And that's where these come from. So, once again, the x-intercept, its formal way of writing is a value for A and then 0, and the y-intercept, a value 0, comma, whatever the y value is for B. And here we see it, always in that form. So anytime you see a value like this, that would be your x-intercept. This is your y-intercept. And in plotting them, when they're asking you to do this, the making of this t-chart. So let's go on. Now, on the other side, wherever you're going to make a little t-chart, here is the equation for 2a. And we do a t-chart by putting an x there, a y there, a 0 under the x, a 0 under the y. We call this the x and y intercept t-chart. Now we do substitution. If x is 0, a negative y is 2, so dividing each by a -1 gives us y as a -2. Now if y is 0, x equals 2. And we'll get to plot these shortly. So again, an x and y intercept t-chart. If x is 0, we're dividing each side by a -1. Y would be a 3. If y is 0, x is a -3. And again, x and y intercept t-chart. Here, if x is 0, we're left with 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by 4. Y is a 2. If y is 0, 2x equals 8. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 4. Now notice these are in the form of, over here for instance, 0 comma b. And this is in a comma 0. This is your y-intercept. This is your x-intercept. So we plot the intercepts. 0, -2. So 0, -2 is right there. And then 2 comma 0 is right there. We take our line tool, and there is our graph. And you see there is your x-intercept, and there is your y-intercept. Now in MATLAB, they'll ask you to do this graph by finding and plotting its intercepts. Now in the next section, we're going to show you another way to plot. If you don't find the intercepts and put dots on these axes, they're going to count it wrong. So if they're asking you to plot the intercepts, be sure you use this technique to do so. All right, let's plot this next one. 0, 3. So 0, 3. -3, 0. Line tool. There's the graph. And there's your y-intercept. There's your x-intercept. Now for this one, 0, 2. And then 4, 0. And your line. Your y-intercept, your x-intercept. And if we haven't mentioned this yet, when you see an equation in the form ax plus by equals c, this is standard form, and these equations are in standard form. When an equation is in standard form, it's very easy to use this x and y intercept t-chart and find the intercepts. Now in letter D, it is in standard form, so we would just complete our x and y intercept t-chart. Now this one isn't. So a strategy might be put it in standard form by taking this term, just moving it over to this side, so we get a -3x plus y equals 3. Now this is in standard form, so we can use the x and y intercept t-chart. Now you could do it this way too. It's just a little bit more convenient to put it in this form. And we'll do it for this one too. Just bringing that over. 2x plus y equals a -4. Just transposing that. So now if x here is 0, in fact, go ahead and do those. If x is 0, y will be 0. If y is 0, x is 0. So notice when you have it in standard form and it equals 0, we know it's going to go through the origin, but we don't know where else it goes. So here's a case where you have to put at least one other point. Let's say x is going to be 3. So if x is 3 minus 3y equals 0, just bring your y over to this side. 3y equals 3. Divide both sides by 3, so y equals 1. So you now have one other point. So we know it goes through 0, the origin, but now when x is 3, y is 1. So there's your second point. Now you could also go over 3 more and up 1 to get a better straight line here. So there's your graph for letter D. All right, let's do E. Now if x is 0, this x here is 0, we have y equals 3. If y is 0, we have a negative 3 divided into 3 is a negative 1. So again, 0, 3, 0, 3, negative 1, 0. Again, you're plotting the intercepts. Just give myself another point there. And there's the graph. Well, a little bit off, but not bad. Okay, so this one, if x is 0, y is negative 4. If y is 0, just divide both sides by 2, a negative 2. So we have 0, negative 4 right there, and a negative 2, 0 right there. We're plotting the intercepts. Okay, so once again, if they're asking you to find and plot the intercepts, you'll want to plot where it goes through the x and y axis. And in some cases, if it goes through the origin, you'll need one other point in order to plot the graph. All right, let's go on. Now, we mentioned this a little bit last time, but a special formula, y equals b, is the formula for the horizontal line. Now, the formula for the vertical line is x equals a. So anytime you see an equation in this form, this will be your y-intercept, b, and this will be your x-intercept, a, and it will be a vertical line. So here it's easy. X is a negative 3. Well, you would go to your lab and put a dot there at negative 3, go up any place else, and there is your graph for x equals negative 3. And remember, there are arrows at the end. Now for this one, it's y equals 2. Well, our b here is our y-intercept, and a dot on the y-axis and anywhere else, and then this is your line. In letter C, this is a little tricky. because we don't have what x is. We have to solve for x first. X equals, when we transpose the 3, becomes a negative 3, so x is actually 2. So a dot at 2, and then anywhere else, and then your line forms as a vertical line. Now, before we go to our next section where we'll cover this, I'd like also to mention that we're going to be studying slope. And we use the lowercase letter m to designate slope. What is the slope of a vertical line? Well, by definition, it is undefined. What is the slope of a horizontal line? By definition, it is 0. And the vertical line is still undefined. So they didn't ask us for this yet, but something we're going to be covering very shortly. All right, let's go on to our next topic.